Hello, I'm Pastor Rusty. It's May 27th, 2020, and this is your daily inspo. It's been a good day. I'm a little bit later in the day getting this out, but that's why it's called the daily inspo, not the morning inspo. But it's been a good day. Did some work in the basement, painted a room, ran the Lowe's. That was a nightmare. But it's fun to get out. It was fun to enjoy the life that the Lord's given me. It's fun to spend time. I grilled out for lunch with my family, and I hated what this quarantine isolation period has done to so many people. But I'm very thankful that it's actually been a blessing for me. And so I want to thank God for that. I also want to thank God for all of you that pay attention to these or listen to these or are interested in these or like them or comment. I know it's not for everybody, but for those that it feeds, I thank God for that. Speaking of feeding, our next I am statement of the 7 I am statements in John, we're going to move into the next one in John chapter 10, the very next verse that says, I am the good shepherd. What a great claim Jesus says. See, he's talking about he's the door. Come in and out of the sheepfold. So we're talking about a sheep motif here, which everybody in the first century would have understood. They would have understood a shepherd. Shepherds weren't necessarily always liked because, well, sheep don't always smell good, and good shepherds smell like sheep, and that's not a pleasant thing all the time. But Jesus says, listen what he says. He says, I am the good shepherd. I know my own sheep, and they know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father. So I sacrifice my life for the sheep. I have other sheep, too, that are not of the sheepfold. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. I like that. We have the promise that God is putting us together, those that are believers, those that seek to follow Him, seek to find Him. He's putting us together in one flock, and Jesus is the good shepherd. He said earlier in that I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep. He says a hired hand won't do that. A hired hand will run away. When a wolf comes, the hired hand's going to run away. He doesn't have any investment in the sheep. And so Jesus says, I am the good shepherd. Well, good there, that word sometimes is translated beautiful, sometimes it's translated perfect, the right one. There's lots of ways to look at this. When Jesus says he's the good shepherd, he's saying he's the right shepherd. He is the meant shepherd. He is the shepherd that's going to be there for his sheep. And so we can take great solace in that. We can take great enthusiasm in that because Jesus is watching us and he's taking care of us. So what do you think about when you think about a shepherd? You think about, first of all, leadership. He leads the flock. You ever notice that? Especially if reading 23rd Psalm, mercy and goodness shall follow me all the days. Mercy and goodness by a lot of people have been understood to be the sheepdogs that would follow the shepherd and keep the sheep close. Now, sheep can't be driven, it's my understanding. You can't push them where you want them to go. You have to lead them where they want to go. So when we think about a shepherd, we should think about a leader. We should think about the one who's going to walk before us. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, when we're walking through that, he's walking with us, and he's there. He's our leader. But we also think about protector. The shepherd would look after the sheep and would clean the sheep, and at night would investigate the sheep as they came into the sheepfold, make sure none had picked up parasites or things on their wool or didn't have a sickness, and then he would apply ointment where it was needed. So he's the protector, but he's also the physician. He would mend the wounds and he would take care of them. And we always see the picture of the good shepherd with one lamb around his neck. And I've heard it said by preachers, so who knows if it's true or not. I've heard it said that the reason why they was carrying the one is because it was a wayward sheep and he had to go get it. And after a sheep would run off 2 or 3 times, it's my understanding that the shepherd would maybe break a leg of the sheep or injure it in such a way that it could not go on its own. It couldn't run away anymore. And it was so valuable, he didn't want to lose it, even though it was stubborn and hard-headed. It was so valuable to him that he would rather injure it for a time in a way that he knew would heal. But what it does is it teaches he had to then carry that sheep everywhere it went because it couldn't walk because of what he had done to it, but it kept it close to the shepherd. And I've heard tell, again, it could be just preacher stories, that lamb, the one that had his leg broken, that had been, let's say, spanked by the shepherd, would grow such a fondness, such an affinity for the shepherd that that when it was healed, it would be the one that stayed the closest to the shepherd, because they built a bond, they built a relationship. And so when I think about that, I think about physician. I think about not only physician, but director. He leads in our life, and he gives us what we need, even though it may be painful. It's what we need. Because, see, the goal is not just to save us from a fiery hell or to save us from loneliness and separation from God. The goal is to save us mentally, physically, spiritually, in any way possible. It's a holistic healing, salvation is. And so God does what he needs to do in our life so that we build that relationship and that bond with him that can never be broken. So, what can we say today? Can we say that he is our shepherd? That we, even if we're a little bit wayward or a little bit troublesome for the shepherd, are we his sheep? So, if you're his sheep, he won't let you get away with anything, will he? He always watches over you. He always takes care of you. And he turns you the direction you need to go. And he makes us God-shaped people. We begin to look more and more and more like the shepherd. We trust him and we walk with him. And I hope you're in that place today. I'm Pastor Rusty. I'll talk to you tomorrow.